Hey guys, what's going on? We're going to talk about the article that I originally was going to talk about before. This was 2 videos ago whenever I noticed that some of my Democrat friends were changing Obama's record on his support for Saudi Arabia. Apparently only Bush and Trump do that, and Clinton and Obama didn't do that at all. Only the Republicans are the stooges and the puppets of the Saudis. The Democrats don't do that. They don't bow down to no one. But tying in, so that was Orwellian because they are rewriting history, very recent history, before my eyes, because these are the same people that I've been friends with for a long time. But let's beside the point. That we're going to tie in Orwellian because this article from, where is this from? The LA Times. This accuses Trump of being Orwellian. Somehow rewriting history, recent history in real time, is not Orwellian, but somehow not wanting the UN to control your government policies and to cede sovereignty and control of your own policies and give it to a unelected supra-government organization, apparently that's Orwellian. Let's go into this, shall we? This is almost a month old, but the themes, the content we are going to be talking about is not dated at all because, well, you'll see. George Orwell couldn't have created this guy. Talking about Trump. President Trump used part of his speech at the United Nations General Assembly Monday morning to rail against open border activists who cloaked themselves in the rhetoric of social justice. He went on, "The policies are not just. Your policies are cruel and evil." And the author disagrees with this. But that is absolutely the case. Open borders is incredibly cruel to every single person involved. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel not racist. It makes them feel morally superior and like they're a good person. But in reality, it would hurt every single person in that country, every single person involved, including themselves. Do you know why there are no nations today that are open borders? Because it crushes nations. It destroys them. They cannot function. Every single nation that has tried that in the past has ceased to exist. Why? Because that's open calls for invasion. That's open calls for hordes of criminals, thugs, drug cartel members, whatever bad name you want to call them, to just come over and do whatever the fuck they want. We already see this problem. Back up. Not only have we seen this in historical examples, but we see countries with liberal immigration policies right now, today, the US, Britain, Sweden, France, Germany, etc., 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 just 5 off the top of my head I could list, that we are already seeing the ramifications of such liberal immigration policies. The United States alone takes over 1 million legal immigrants a year. That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration, which is now in the tens of millions. That doesn't even include all of their children, all of the children of legal immigrants who they're native-born citizens, so they don't count as immigrants, but they wouldn't be there if their parents didn't immigrate here. So immigration not only adds those official numbers of 1 million, but all their kids and grandparents, like all those generations, all those people, millions upon millions upon millions of people added to the system. Open borders combined with the generous welfare state that Democrats are proposing would tank this country. I already played this in a previous video, how at one of the Democratic debates, the moderator asked, which one of you guys will support healthcare for illegal immigrants? And every single one of those traitorous communists raised their hand. You cannot, it's just a matter of numbers, a matter of money, which apparently Democrats don't understand. The Republicans don't understand that either, for that matter, because they're running up national debt so much that the economy's going to crash anyway, regardless of which political party holds power. But that's beside the point. We're getting off topic here because everything's related. You simply cannot invite the entire world to come over because you have open borders. You can't, you say yes, you just don't say no to anyone. Anyone can come in and just give them unlimited welfare. You cannot simply have people over without checking whether they're a criminal, a terrorist, a drug cartel, a thug, a murderer, and then not expect there to be crime, ramifications for your own citizens. We already see that with certain demographics committing way more crime than white Americans. How illegal immigrants commit way more crimes than legal immigrants or native-born Americans. We already see this happening. For the elites making these policies, and for their wealthy benefactors who finance these policies, they don't see these ramifications because they live in gated communities with million dollar houses in wealthy urban cities, that they are totally cut off from all of this crime, all of this problems. They have enough money to support the high taxes, to support all of these welfare programs. The lower class do not. The lower and middle class do not. They have to deal with these people day in and day out committing crime and getting welfare without putting into that system. I already did a whole video of how giving illegal immigrants all this welfare is creating a two-tier caste system in this country where they are giving more benefits than Native Americans. I'll put that link in the description. I'll put it up on the screen too. They have to deal with these people committing crimes, murdering them, raping them, stealing their stuff, breaking into their businesses, doing all of these crimes that they wouldn't have committed if they weren't already here. It is incredibly cruel and evil to the native population to do this open border policies with the extreme amount of welfare that the Democrats are proposing. So Trump was absolutely right to call their policies cruel and evil. That was only the first sentence of this article, and I ranted for about 6 minutes on that one. That was amazing. Let's continue, shall we? Well, the president would know. Well, the president would know because he creates cruel and evil policies. He's such... I bet this guy testosterone is like room temperature. It's freaking amazing. Well, the president would know. I mean, someone who views the forceful separation of children from their parents as an acceptable... someone who views the forceful separation of children from their parents as acceptable, while their pleas for sanctuary are weighed, also has sufficient standing to define evil. Wait, so you're saying that people who support separating children from adults to figure out if they're being trafficked or not, or if they're lying saying they're family, you're saying that people who support that policy and implement that policy are cruel and evil? Well, that means that the vast majority of Americans are cruel and evil because throughout our history we have supported that policy. Oh, and that means that your Democrat politicians and presidents, they are also cruel and evil because guess what? Obama, Clinton, Carter, they all supported this. This has been the normal policy for as long as we have had borders. This has been the standard mode of operations. And only now, because Orange Man is in the White House, do you suddenly have a problem with it. Didn't have a problem with Obama doing it. You didn't have a problem with Bush doing it because you were less radical back then. Didn't have a problem with Clinton doing it. Didn't have a problem with the first Bush doing it. But suddenly, now that Trump does the exact same thing, you have a problem with it. Democrats have a problem with separating children from their potential child traffickers because that is cruel and evil according to this stupid fucking idiot. This is nothing new, of course. Trump constantly invokes open borders as a red herring as he accuses Democrats and just about anyone else demanding a humane approach to immigration enforcement. Side note, separating children to figure out if they're being trafficked or not is the humane approach to immigration enforcement. I'm sorry to break a bubble here, but that's the most humane thing. The most humane thing is not to just let everyone in. There's like, oh, I'm a family. Then you just automatically believe them without even questioning it and then let them in, furthering human trafficking, furthering sexual slave trafficking, furthering child trafficking. That's the cruel and evil thing to do. It's not cruel and evil to say, hold up, let's see if you're telling the truth or not. Let's run some background checks. Let's get some paperwork in order. Let's fill out some forms. Let's do some research. Like, that's the normal fucking thing to do. He accuses Democrats of wanting to let the world's thundering hordes swarm into the United States. How is open borders not letting in whoever wants to come in? How is the cognitive dissonance they have to have in order for this not to be true is amazing. It's kind of inflammatory language, often accompanied by racially charged comments, such accusing Mexican immigrants of being rapists and drug dealers that fires up his political base. This quote from, I think it was 2015, 4 years ago, they still are butthurt about this statement. This one statement, which is statistically true. You can look up the stats if you have a brainstem, on Google and look at official FBI and ICE, official federal government stats, and you can see that, yes, there are some Mexican immigrants who rape and deal drugs. That is undeniable. There is no fucking way that you are saying that Hispanics are just pure, innocent angels who never rape or deal drugs at all. None of them do it. Every single rapist and drug dealer is of another ethnicity. That's the world they live in. If you simply say, hey, there's some Mexican immigrants that do this, maybe we should have some enforcement on how we do immigration instead of just open borders, then apparently that means you're a racist, and apparently that means you're saying that every single Mexican is a rapist and drug dealer, which is absolutely not what Trump says. That's not what anyone says. No one on the face of the planet says that every single ethnicity, every single person of a certain ethnicity does a certain thing. We can say, overall, they tend to do things more or less in certain numbers. We have that backed up by crime statistics. There's nothing wrong with reading a crime statistic and say that ethnicity A commits this crime 50% of the time, ethnicity B commits this crime 16% of the time, whatever. There's nothing racist with that, but again, I've already made a video of how, I'll put that up on the screen, how liberals think that reading crime statistics is somehow racist. Simply mentioning the truth is racist. You can't say that some Mexican immigrants rape and deal drugs. That's racist. You privileged white male cis scum.
You're fucking a white male!
How dare you say that objectively true thing that I can find in 2 seconds? You can't say that. No. You have to be taken to the re-education room and be taught that minorities are good and whites are bad. You can't say anything bad about minorities. Minorities are perfect little angels that do nothing wrong at all. You are empowering criminal organizations that prey on innocent men, women, and children. You put your own false sense of virtue before the lives, well-being, and countless innocent people, Trump said in his speech. When you undermine border security, you are undermining human rights and human dignity. All of that, again, is objectively true. Like, how are you... If you let in MSN13 without stopping them with this, yep, you can bring in your drugs, you can bring in your guns, you can bring in all this stuff. Now, we're not going to check to see if you murdered people. No, it's cool, man. It's cool. Come on in. Come on in and just settle yourselves in these neighborhoods. We're going to give you money for rent. We give you money for food. We give you money for this, and that. Oh, you don't have to pay anything into that. You can just do what you want. You can just chill, you know, and just sell drugs and murder people all day. And we'll just give you a bunch of stuff. And we're not going to send the police after you because that's racist, because that perpetuates the racist police that we have in the system in this country. So yeah, and you can just kill the native born. We don't care. How is that not empowering criminal organization? We just invite MS-13 into a neighborhood, give them all this stuff, and let them do whatever they want. How is that not empowering? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh man. They got me some good chuckles here. This is where Trump gets Orwellian. How is that Orwellian? How? People urging policies that respect the asylum rights of the oppressed are, in Trump's jujitsu approach to the English language. Okay, he doesn't know what jujitsu is if he thinks that's a good metaphor for that sentence, by the way. Guilty of putting those same people in danger. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, and wanting to help the desperate is cruel. But you're not helping the desperate. We have desperate people in this country that already need help. We can't be mommy to every single person on the face of the world. We live in a country that is more than, what's the word? What's the number? More than $20 trillion in debt. I forget if it's 23 or 24 trillion. I have to put it up on the screen, so I might be wrong on that exact number. We're more than $20 trillion in debt. The middle class in this country is being erased. People are paying more in taxes than, you know, rent, food, and car payments combined. We're taxing them out the fucking wazoo. People are struggling to make a living, and you want to bring in more people that have no skills. They're not going to move up in the world. They're just a leech on our social services, which are already drained to capacity due to the already native population and the legal immigration population. How is that not cruel? You're shooting yourself in the foot. Actually, come to think of it, not only are you shooting yourself in the foot, you're shooting another person in the foot, and you're like, I'm just trying to help people. Why are you complaining? This isn't cruel. Shooting other people in the foot is cruel. Shooting yourself in the foot is cruel too. These people are masochists, I guess. I guess they like being cruel themselves. They're like, hey, look at this country in the past who did these policies. Oh yeah, they just torpedo themselves into oblivion. Oh yeah, let's do that. Oh, and this other country is doing it right now and also torpedoing themselves into oblivion. Let's do that too. So we feel good about ourselves. It's like that meme of SpongeBob when they destroy the city to prevent the butterfly from destroying the city. And they're like, we did it, Patrick, we saved the city.
Did it, Patrick! We saved the city! Just think what might have happened if we didn't tell everyone about the monster!
About the what?
It's like, that's the exact mentality of these pea brains. Let's destroy our country to save the world. We did it, Patrick, we saved the world. We saved, it's like, what? Journalists have documented numerous incidents in which migrants forced to wait in Mexico has been kidnapped or violently assaulted. Last month, Human Rights First reported that at least 110 cases, all involving victims, the U.S. government has returned to Mexico. So when someone tries to immigrate here and we're like, no, we don't want you. No, we already met our quota. No, you're a thug. You're a felon. You murdered. You know, for one reason or another, we say no to them, and then we return them, and then they get murdered. Then apparently that's our fault. You know what? There are 200 plus other countries you can go to. You don't have to go to the United States. Oh, what a coincidence. You want to go to the richest, most powerful country in the world just to leech off welfare. If you were truly in danger, if your life was truly in danger in Mexico, then you would go literally anywhere else to avoid being killed. Why are you going to a country which, thank God now, is turning you away? A country that doesn't have open borders. Why don't you go somewhere else? Why don't you go to all those others, any of the other progressive South American countries down there that have not a lot of white people, so you know they're not racist. You know, they're very progressive because they have people of color all over the place in government. Why don't you go there? Oh, you don't. Oh, you don't. What a fucking surprise. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. We are not responsible for murders happening in Mexico. Sorry. No. That's not how things work. Author of this article is trying to imply that because we don't have open borders and just accept everyone, then we're responsible for these 110 people's deaths because we returned them back to Mexico saying you can't come here. That's our fault, apparently. That is brilliant, amazing, stunning, beautiful, and brave logic. He hasn't mentioned the thousands of people that illegal immigrants kill in this country every year. No, of course not. That number, which is way bigger than the 110, don't matter compared to that 110. Why? Because it's mostly native people being killed. Actually, come to think of it, I think illegal immigrants kill a fuck ton of legal immigrants that are not white, as well as Native American-born citizens that aren't white either. Because usually they kill within their own communities. The vast majority of people that are killed by MS-13 are other Hispanics. Now, whether the legal status, I don't know. I don't know if there's stats that exist for that. But why are you not concerned with the thousands of people across all different ethnicities and all types of different immigration status? Why do you not care about the thousands of them getting killed in America by illegal immigrants every year, but you care so much more about this 110? Like, the 110 is sad, don't get me wrong. Any death is sad. Any person getting killed, not justly, because they're trying to kill someone else, for example, in self-defense. Any death is sad, but you have to weigh the numbers. Thousands versus 110? What if you can save 5,000, let's say, versus 110, what are you going to pick? What are you going to pick? It is against U.S. law and international agreement to send migrants seeking asylum to places where their lives are in danger. Yeah, but it's also, there's no law saying we have to accept every single one of them. There's no law with that. But the Trump administration is doing just that every day to the tune of more than 45,000 people now waiting in limbo. Okay, record scratch. The vast majority of people waiting to get asylum, they end up not being legit asylum seekers. I think it's 90% of them. 90% of them don't have a valid claim to asylum. So you can do whatever 90% of 45,000 is. I don't have a calculator handy on me. That's not our fault. That's not our fault that people are lying, claiming asylum when they don't have a valid case. That's not our fault that simply economic migrants, people who just want more money, are coming here saying they're seeking asylum. That's not our fault. You can't put that on us. It makes no sense to do that. We cannot nanny every single sob story in the world. We don't have the resources for it. We already don't have enough resources with people already here in this country. I know you guys don't care about numbers. I know you guys don't care about the debt because that's boring, economic numbers. I know it's boring to talk about and it gets really tedious. But those numbers exist for a reason. Why? Because that allows us how much we pay for things. And when we're going to crash on our debt because we can't even pay the interest on our debts because we're shelling out so much in social services, then that becomes everyone's problem. And that's how countries crash. And that's why your policies are cruel and evil, because you're leading this country to crashing. And there, the migrants will stay while the overwhelmed immigration court system tries to sort through their claims. And now the administration is striking agreements with El Salvador and Guatemala to take in asylum seekers who are hoping to reach the U.S., which is an exercise in absurdity since those some of the very countries desperate are fleeing. Well, then the El Salvadorians and Guatemalans, they don't have to go there. They can go somewhere else. Everyone else coming from every single other country can go to those two countries. What's the problem with that? So if anyone pursuing policies that are cruel and evil, well, I'm sure there were mirrors in the White House. I think this guy thinks he's so clever with his little jabs at Trump's. Like, I'm sure there are mirrors in the White House. If he wants to look for evil, he should just look in the mirror. I'm just like, that is the type of voice I know this author has whenever he's typing this shit. So in conclusion, it's cruel and unjust to want policies that will result in your country not collapsing under economic and murder ruin, but it is progressive and kind to want policies like open borders and unlimited welfare for anyone who wants it. Apparently that's not cruel and evil. When I say, not just me, obviously, when people say we're in clown world, this is the example of why. We live in a world that makes absolutely no sense, where stabbing someone is kind and saving someone is cruel and evil. We live in a world where everything is upside down. Everything is exactly opposite. Fascism, when people advocate for small government and not breaking people's human rights, and limited government, that's fascism. Promoting communism, government control of every aspect of your lives, that's not cruel. That's not cruel, that's not mean, that's progressive, that's kind, that's loving. Quoting crime statistics, that's racist. Wanting policies to stop those murders, racist, cruel. Allowing policies to allow anyone in the world to come over here and murder whoever you want, no, that's kind, that's humane. This is the clown world we live in.